What's up, everybody? We're Fifth Down Territory, presented by Stadium Rant. It's Tyler. It's Bahookie. We got special guest Dan Baker here with us. Louis couldn't make it. We tried to find a fourth. We're just rolling with three people tonight. So we're here to talk about some contract drama, since we got a lot of that this weekend. We'll start right out with it. Brandon Ayuk says the 49ers don't want him anymore. As he's talking to Jaden Daniels, who's one of his quote-unquote best friends, on a team that we really don't want to see any more wide receivers go to, if we're being completely honest. We're coming from a fantasy community standpoint here. Do not go to the Commanders and muck up that whole target share for everybody. Go to a team. That would crush me.
I went in on Jahan Dotson this year with Curtis Samuel coming over to the Bills. Because I feel like he's kind of a guy who's kind of flown under the radar here and has the opportunity to be Jaden Daniels' number one deep threat. And they didn't draft a wide receiver, so that tells you that Cliff Kingsbury and these guys are pretty high on him. And so maybe if they had that in their back pocket, that could explain why they didn't draft one, because maybe they were planning on trading for one later. But I don't know. I'm not putting too much stock in it. It can also just be a contract negotiating tactic.
Right. Yeah. I mean, he seems like he's not in the power right now. He's asking for so much money, and yeah, they're giving out some wide receiver contracts, trying to get ahead of, next year's raise. But I really don't think that Brandon Ayuk's quite worth the money that he's asking for. I hear it's around 30 mil or so. Yeah, that's expensive. That's expensive. He's talented. He's great fit for this system. But I would put his stock more around that $24 to $27 million range. I think that's manageable for them, but I don't think that they're gonna go up to 30 mil. If we are talking best landing spots here, I'm thinking personally, Pittsburgh would be a great landing spot for him. I think the Chargers would be the best. With them really needing a number one guy that's can operate on the outside, when you just got Joshua Palmer and Quentin Johnston operating on the outside. For the most part, Ladd McConkey I really like, but he's going to be mostly out of the slot. So I think that'd be a great pairing with Justin Herbert. But I do think that Pittsburgh would be a great landing spot. They can mix him into the slot there. They can keep him on the outside. And George Pickens really needs, I think, somebody else opposite of him to take some pressure off.
That would hurt my George Pickens take from last week that he's 1,400 yards.
1,400? Is that off the projections?
Yeah, it's off the projection. Yeah.
As the wide receiver room stands right now, it was a hot take for a reason, but it's not like you can see how you got there. But yeah, if Brandon Ayuk goes there,
it's just dead. That's dead on arrival.
Yeah.
He had 800 yards.
That's when you lose the parlay on the first leg. You're like, all right, well,
yeah. That's what I'm looking at. That's what I'm looking at FanDuel again. What else can I bet today?
Let's try this again.
the team that needs to go get Brandon Ayuk is the New England Patriots. That's the team that needs to go do it. They have an awful wide receiving core currently, and it's unproven. The vets are hurt, and Hunter Henry is their most consistent player currently, which is great when you have a wide receiver one. You don't have a wide receiver one. You have a couple of rookies that could pan out, but again, unproven. That would be a team where he would step in and be able to demand at least a 25% target share, in my opinion. Everybody else would lose about 4 to 5% target share, and it would all go to him. And you got Drake May, who let's say he doesn't start the first couple of weeks, but you get Brandon Ayuk, you're starting Drake May sooner than you would if you don't have Brandon Ayuk on the roster, because you have that weapon that you could be able to kind of move the ball to and get him the football. So about the money, $30 million. Sure, if it's the Patriots, they still have 53 a year. I'm sorry, they still
if you have a quarterback on a rookie contract, you can justify it a little bit better.
That's what I'm saying. But there's no way that Brandon Ayuk is getting less money than Calvin Ridley.
I don't think
20. Huh?
I don't think you can make that happen with like someone like with like a one of the top quarterback contracts. I mean, let's get like I guess
Trevor Lawrence contract.
Yeah, you're seeing the Cowboys now start to run into it with Dak and CD, and that's kind of like, and it seems like they're gonna like the preliminary kind of feel of it is they're gonna sign CD and let Dak play out his contract and eat the money. And we've seen it with Patrick Mahomes and them shipping Tyreek out and the Bills, and now them shipping Stephon Diggs out. So I feel like it's unlikely that Herbert's been paid already. He already signed his contract, right?
Yeah, he's at like $53 million a year or something like that. To answer Nick's question real quick, Ayuk to New England's interesting. Maybe he's a trustworthy number one receiver. What would I trade for him? I would give a second next year for him. I don't know why San Francisco wouldn't do that if they're not interested in paying for it. Chances are it's going to be a higher second round pick. And guess what? I don't care if it's a higher second round pick. You're not getting a talent that is young, proven, and explosive for your roster that with that second round pick. I'm sorry. I like what Jalen Polk and Javon Baker are doing, but I still can't necessarily trust the Patriots to draft a wide receiver just yet. So go trade for one. Go make the splash. Go all in on getting a young player who you can have grow with your team. But yeah, so I did want to touch on what you said about Dak and CeeDee Lamb. Man, the Cowboys dumb. Sorry, Shane, if you're listening. Your Cowboys, Nolan, your Cowboys, they're dumb. They waited. They're just waiting. Jerry Jones is waiting. Like, oh, no, we'll take care of it. Everybody else getting paid big bucks. Dak Prescott's like, Trevor Lawrence just got $275 million from the Jaguars. You're the Cowboys. Where's my $400 million? Like, you know what I mean? Like, CeeDee Lamb's like, yo.
It's kind of reminiscent of it's a little different because the positions are different and the talent, but the Daniel Jones Saquon Barkley deal in New York. Like I feel like it's kind of like they get like a similar dynamic to that going on.
Yeah,
and hopefully they pay the right guy here.
You should, as an NFL owner, I don't understand why they aren't more proactive than reactive. When you're reacting to contracts, that means you're typically overpaying because you're trying the player you're paying is trying to break the market. And when every deal for these top end players is breaking the market, so now you have to go reset it again. Like, get the deal done before these other players are signed. That way you're saving you might take it on the chin because you may have paid a dude a little early. But if you look at the salary cap and like what everybody is spending on these other players, like you might end up getting yourself a bargain. Like we all thought the Mahomes deal was absolutely crazy. That's a bargain now. That's a bargain. 10 years, $500 million.
He's like the 10th highest paid quarterback now.
Wrap that shit up. Do it every day, especially on Sundays, baby. Like, Dak, Mahomes does have a thing in his contract that he gets to renegotiate every 2 years to make sure he's within the top 3 or 5 paid quarterbacks in the league. So they just take money from that $500 million and move it around. But it's such a well-constructed contract. It came at the perfect time, and now people are sweating to get deals done with players like Trevor Lawrence or Dak Prescott who really haven't shown it in the playoffs.
Or Tua.
Tua's going to get paid. Tua's going to get paid. He might get $300 million. That's silly.
At this point.
They don't have, they have no other choice.
Yeah, you don't have, you're literally handcuffed. You cannot do anything else but pay Tua. That you guys tanked for Tua. You can't now not pay him, or you're going to want to go tank again, especially with a roster that looks like that with a bunch of aging vets. Like, their defense is full of older guys. Like, they don't really have, a young nucleus on defense. Like, they have Jalen Waddle, Devon Achane. what else? You know, like that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to you guys' point, like the Cowboys have dug themselves in a hole. They got a great roster. They're going to be competing. There's no way they're going to be able to draft a quarterback that is their future unless they trade a ton to move up. It's just not likely right now. And what's the future? If you don't re-sign Dak, then what is the next couple of years really going to look like? Is Jerry Jones in any mindset to rebuild right now and look towards the future? Not at all. But next year, the Cowboys have a $64.8 million in cap space. That's not enough money right there alone for Dak and CD. Nevertheless, all of the other players that are going to be leaving this offseason. So they really have dug themselves into a hole where they got to choose one or the other. And I personally hope it's CD just because I want him to continue to have that crazy market share. But you need a quarterback. And I think you can go out and find a guy to give you similar numbers to CD more easily than you can go find a guy that gives you similar numbers to Dak.
They're gonna have to go pay Micah Parsons too pretty soon.
Right.
He's gonna get $30 million a year.
Yeah.
Don't mind my dog. He's just being a good boy. All right. I think that's good for. Was there anybody else who want Jamar Chase? Like, how much do we think Jamar Chase is gonna get?
I'm just looking right now at the market value on Spot Track for CeeDee Lamb. They're estimating a 4-year, $34 million per year contract. I think Jamar is going to be right behind that number. If CD does get the full 34, I think both of them should probably earn somewhere around 30 to 32. But right now, you got Monrod just signed a big deal. Hill's already getting paid $30 million a year. Only guys getting paid more than that per year are AJ Brown and JJ. So it's a lot of money to cough over when you're going to be spending a ton on your quarterback.
Well, yeah, that's going to be the next one to see is Cincinnati's had this crazy offense coming up because they've all been young on rookie deals, and
right.
What's this like next stage of their development look like?
Yeah.
This is why it's so hard in the NFL.
Yeah, and as of now, the Bengals will start off with $37.8 million in cap space next year. So not a ton of wiggle room.
No, but that's enough to get it. Like, it's all about how you like set the contract. Are you front loading it? Are you back loading it? How much is in signing bonus? What's in the guarantees? Like,
right.
You can sign Jamar Chase for $135 million with a cap hit of like $15 million this year. You know what I mean? Or next year. It's not going to take $37 million to sign him. So, but it's all about the time that they're being signed and what the market is looking like at the time, because you pay what the market is. You have to pay what the market is.
And to your argument earlier, that's why you pay your guys early. If they signed CD before this insane breakout, they probably could have gotten him for $25 a year, and he would have been fine. He would have contributed to your team. Whether you knew he's going to break out like this. Who knows?
Yeah, give him four for 100 with like 80 guaranteed over the first two.
Yes.
Done. Sign me up. Like,
what young player doesn't want that deal?
Especially like you haven't like you said, you haven't fully broken out yet. You've shown a lot of promise, and you are a top end player in this league, but after last season, bro, I'd be looking at him like, yo, you gotta pay me big bucks. Like, I am your offense. You had no run game to speak of and no wide receiver too. Right.
And even less running backs on the roster now. It is like, it's going through one person.
Zeke's back. He showed promise at the end of last year. He played well for the Pats. Even though the Pats are an absolute dumpster fire, he showed up in games. But I think that is good on the contract talk and kind of this opener. We can get into our deep dive divisional round now with the AFC East. Bahookie, why don't you go first? You don't get to go first often, so let's. You want to start with the Bills? Let's start with the Bills.
Start with the Bills. All right.
Oh, that was notebook, flipping pages like it's 2008.
Here we go.
I'm into the note taking, man. Especially this is I'll spare you of the monologue. I'll just talk about the Bills.
I love your monologues. It's okay.
It's people talk about it with coaches too, and some coaches like take notes and like again, the Euro and Copa America is going on right now, and like some of the really high level coaches you see who are like taking notes and like they actually have things to like in. I feel like it's good to do that when you're watching games too, when you're trying to break them down. Anyways, everyone's got their own methods. So Bill's record, I had 10-7. And I think that is all. And I anticipated doing the Bills last. I'm gonna spoiler alert that I have also the Jets at 10-7, and those are the two best records. One of those teams will win the division at 10-7. I think it ends up being the Bills because I trust them in those tough divisional games like that matter and them to come out with a better divisional record, whether that be 5-1 or 4-2. I feel like that's probably what it would be realistically. I like the Bills against the Dolphins and the Pats and probably to split with the Jets. And I think the Jets could definitely they always have a hard time against New England and I could definitely see Miami getting one against the Jets is probably more likely than New England. And anyways, yeah, I have the Bills at 10-7, winning the division on the tiebreaker, probably going in as that fourth seed. This is probably going to be like the lowest win total division in the AFC. For my most polarizing players, so we had one. I had three written here. For me, I have Kyer Elam, Von Miller, and Curtis Samuel. Because I wanted to have like one on the offensive side, and I think that I'm really up on Curtis Samuel here. I think that the Bills are going to try and use him in like the Debo role and have him like all over the field running the ball sometimes, and he's going to be like that like Swiss Army knife. And I really don't know exactly what to expect. So it's just kind of exciting, and maybe I'm completely wrong. So that's why he's polarizing. But Von Miller, was when we signed him, one of the guys I was like most excited. I don't know if I've ever been like that excited about like a free agent signing. I remember when we traded for Stephon Diggs, how excited I was when that happened. But yeah, Von Miller, he gave us to be like, the first 8 games of his first season were so incredible, and he was like wrecking games. Then tears his ACL, and it's been really slow for him to come back. And and for the most part, like the last year, like I feel like he just went straight up field and like made no moves or anything. And he made a couple like disrupting plays where he kind of hurried the quarterback in the Kansas City game that I was at, and he made a couple plays here and there, but he has not been the player that the Bills invested this crazy amount of money in. We paid for this guy to be a game wrecker, like to like really get home in the playoffs, and for all the drafting and investment we've done on our defensive line, that's like they go ghost in the playoffs for us every single year. It's really, really discouraging because that's like one of the teams invest in your pass rush so hard, and you like. That's what it takes to disrupt Patrick Mahomes or Tua or Lamar or Joe Burrow, whoever. You got to get them off their spot, and that's one of the reasons that we really struggle against the top tier offenses, because you're going against one of those types of quarterbacks, and if you give them more than 2 seconds, they're gonna kill you. And Kyer Elam, former first round pick, has basically been an afterthought in this defense. Christian Benford was a 6th round pick in the same draft, and he's a bona fide starter for us, and he's one of our most underrated players. But so yeah, if we could see Von Miller or Kyer Elam take a step forward this year, that would be great. So my hot take for the Bills was that they will both take a step back and a step forward in this same season. I was looking at the first part of their schedule, and I have them winning their first 2 games. I think they got Arizona and Miami up first.
Let's see here. I got them up.
Yeah, Arizona and Miami. I have them winning those first 2. and then Jags, Ravens, Texans, Jets. I could literally see them losing all 4 of those games. And I could see them like really being down and and all the media saying, "Oh, the Bills window is closed," this and that, and burying the Bills. And then I can also see Josh Allen reminding everyone who he is, like he does every year. And then them going forward and maybe have a midseason stumble or something, but take care of business in the divisional games, get into the playoffs, have a home playoff game against the Jets or the Ravens, who will come in and choke, and then go to a number 1 seed Cincinnati, who I don't think is going to be really tested that much this year. We were talking about them last year with their schedule. They're favored in almost every game, like looking through their schedule. And I think my hot take is that the Bills, they're going to get, Josh Allen's going to get his first road playoff win of his career in Cincinnati.
Interesting.
That's interesting for sure. What was the best game of the schedule?
Best game of the schedule. I like that Niners game.
Damn, you picked mine, bastard.
All right. Well, I'm not going to pick the Chiefs because I've already seen them beat the Chiefs in the regular season the last 3 years. That regular season game is not as important as we think it is. I mean, it is and it isn't. I'm gonna go with the game at Baltimore.
Okay.
Just because I'm very like vehement about Josh Allen being head and shoulders above Lamar. I know Lamar's got the 2 MVPs, but I really get tired of how much people kill Josh for like his interceptions and whatever, but he does not choke the way Lamar does. A lot of the time Josh's interceptions are on 3rd and long, 4th and long. Very seldom is it like 4th and goal with the game on the line, and then he turns it over in the end zone. Then Lamar does that all the time, and people don't talk about it enough.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying too. Like you're saying, like he's got that arm power. He's playing hero ball back there. Sometimes 3rd and long. If you chuck up a 50-yard interception, that's just as good as a punt. Not hurting your team, unless it hurting your fantasy team, but that's about all.
No, if you look back, like a lot of his interceptions are arm punts, and like where he's trying to go for it and make a play, and where you can have Tua, who's super efficient, and it's like 3rd and 8, and he throws it off to Achane, who takes it up for 3 to 6 yards. Sure, that looks good, but what was the point of that play?
Right.
All right. So I have the Bills going 11-6, a little bit different from what you said, Bahookie. I kind of think they squeeze one more game in there because Josh Allen, it's Doug McDermott, like they have pedigree, they have consistency. Sean McDermott, not Doug McDermott. And they lost a lot of veterans, but they added a lot of youth and promise. And yeah, so I also think that when Joe Brady took over, they just switched the style of play that's just much more suited for long-term success. I feel like running the ball, play action, controlled chaos. Much more.
James Cook, big year for James Cook. He's if in your redraft leagues, like I don't know, I feel like you'll be able to get decent value on him. Some people kind of started to notice at the end of the year, but I think there's a lot of people who really still don't know about James Cook at all.
Yeah, both of my polarizing player is James Cook, and my hot take is about James Cook. My hot take is James Cook has close to 2,000 all-purpose yards this season. He gets around 1,400 rushing yards, and I think it's around 600. Dude, can you stop licking my head, please? You got me all messed up now, buddy.
For the audio people only, that was Bahookie licking Tyler's head, just so you guys know.
That haircut, man. I can't help myself.
Can't help it.
Oh, kid.
Championship cup, just got to get a lick.
Yeah, he has about 500 receiving yards in my projection. So like that's what I'm projecting him to do, because I don't see Ray Davis coming in and having a major workload year one. They got rid of Latavius Murray. There's no Damian Harris. Like James Cook dominated those touches when the offense changed. He's going to be passing down works because he's the best receiver they have. Or I'm sorry, not the best receiver they have, the best receiving back they have, and he has a connection with Josh Allen. I don't project him to have a lot of touchdowns. I think 7 total, 4 on the ground, 3 through the air. So a lot of his production is going to come from the yardage that he can break off. He's a big play threat, and he's going to get workload. So yeah, James Cook's my most polarizing player. He's my hot take, and I have him as RB6 overall in the year for my fantasy rankings. I know this isn't a fantasy show, but football, fantasy, hand in hand. That we talk about one, you talk about the other. And the best game of the year for me is Bills San Fran. I enjoy watching two really good football teams play each other, and that's exactly what that is. So, Dan, why don't you take it over?
Yeah, and just to build on your James Cook take, he was third amongst running backs last year in total purpose yards. He was only 18 behind Breece Hall for second. Christian McCaffrey, obviously another beast. But yeah, I like that take there. I have the Bills going 10-7 this season. I think there's going to be a lot of close games that are, just decided by them not having that X
Maybe
factor
having
anymore.
12 men on the field when you kick a game-winning field goal.
That'll hurt. That'll hurt. But yeah, overall, I still love the Bills as a team. I think that they're going to succeed, but kind of like Bahookie said, I think that they are kind of rebuilding in a year where they still have Josh Allen, they still have talent on the team to get the job done, but they are switching offensive schemes. Joe Brady took over after week 10 last year. And although, they saw more success with Joe Brady, I think it's still going to be something that they have to get used to. I think even though Josh Allen is used to playing hero ball, he is really going to be relied on to play hero ball more than ever this season. So got them going at 10-7. Keon Coleman is my most polarizing player. Maybe this is just my fantasy side of me, but I see so many people really blowing him up as like, oh, now it's the Bills' number 1 wide receiver. He's going to do Stephon Diggs-esque things. I don't think that's going to be the case. They brought in Keon Coleman to be the outside wide receiver, which I don't see him. I just don't think that's his MO. Last year in college, he didn't see an above average success rate on any route other than the flat. When he lined up primarily on the outside, but he was in the 19th percentile against press coverage. You're going to see a lot of that in the NFL. And on top of it, this division is stacked at cornerbacks. He's going to go up against teams' bests. Yep. You got Christian Gonzalez, Jalen Ramsey, and Sauce Gardner. Like, that's some tough matchups.
How about DJ Reed deserves his flowers too.
There you go, DJ. So, it's just no matter where he goes on the field, he is going to see some top cornerbacks, and that is 6 of his 17 games this season. So I think he's going to really struggle with that. I think people are projecting him just a little bit too high, and that leads into my hot take. I have Coleman will be considered a year 1 bust. Not saying that he is a bust of a draft pick. I think that'll take some time to build after he's got some time with these coaches, learn some, eccentric release packages. Maybe he starts beating the press a little bit more. He's got the physicality to do it. But I think year 1's going to be a struggle for him. And I have him with under 80 receptions and under 800 yards receiving. I think it's going to be a disappointment on that front. However, I like Curtis Samuel a lot. Bahookie, you were talking about him earlier. Him and Joe Brady already have experience together, and that was Curtis Samuel's best year by a long shot. I think that he's going to be involved. I think Khalil Shakir is going to be involved. They're all going to kind of deflate each other's fantasy value this year. But I do think that overall, they're still going to get it done in the passing game. So my best game of the year for the Bills, I got Week 17 Bills against the Jets. Bahookie, I agree with you. The Jets, that defense is real. That defense, as long as Aaron Rodgers,
probably go into that game.
Oh, dude, that's going to be so good. You know, it's going to be a snow game. It's just going to be a ton of fun with some playoffs.
Last time Aaron Rodgers was in Buffalo was with Green Bay on my 21st birthday.
God.
Yeah, and that was one of his MVP years, and we held him to a 0.0 passer rating.
Jesus. Okay. You know what? I'm impressed that you remember it. If it was my 21st birthday, I don't know if I'd have any recollection of
There's
even
a lot of fireball shots and beer funnels, and yeah, it was a day for sure. But
I hear you.
The Bills took down the Packers. It was a good one. But
I don't know how big of baseball fans y'all are, but have you heard of the perfect game from like a spectator's point of view?
Mm-hmm. What do you
9
mean?
hot dogs.
Oh, the 9 challenge. Yeah. 9 hot dogs, 9 beers, 9 innings.
It is a challenge. I got through 9 beers and 7 hot dogs before I wanted to kill myself from all of the hot dogs that I ate that day. I could not smell a hot dog at that point.
Awesome. Yeah, you were like, no more glizzies.
Sorry, I did want to rebuttal to a couple of things that you said. I like most of the points you made about Keon Coleman. I think the main thing for him is like it was like the type of receiver that they were looking for, because like a lot of people were questioning like his speed, explosiveness. He's still young. He's like 20, about to turn 21, and so that stuff can still improve. But he's a big boy and can get those contested catches in the red zone, which is really what we need. We already got speed guys with Shakir and Samuel, who you mentioned, and you did mention our tight ends. I think we're going to be running way more 12 personnel. I think you're going to see Dawson Knox and Dalton Kincaid both on the field a lot. So I do think that the ball is going to be spread around. I do, and it's going to take time for Keon Coleman to grow into his role, as it does for any rookie. But I think that there's a decent chance he's going to be a real big red zone threat for us, because that's one of the things that we've been like that it's kind of been a running joke about our receivers, that Josh has never had any like real tall receivers. All of our receivers have always been like right about like 6 foot. And Diggs, for what it's worth, did not play 6 foot. He went up and got balls and had that, like, that's my ball. But that only works to a certain degree when, again, you're talking about going against Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed. Right. But they're going to have the ability to spread them out here. And I think the main part of his fantasy value is his youth, and he's on a rookie contract. He's going to be there for at least 4 years, so that's really the main thing. But I do like most of your picks there.
Real quick, I have Keon Coleman with 56 receptions for 875 yards and 7 touchdowns. So I'm pretty close with what you have going on, Dan. Yeah. I wouldn't call that a bust season, but I understand people being higher on him with the departure of Diggs. I am such a big Khalil Shakir guy. I think he has the same body type as Stephon Diggs and can be the same type of weapon. So I think I have him and Samuel like almost identical right up until the yards per reception. I have Shakir getting like 3 more yards per reception. So he's at 13.6. I have Samuel getting 10.6. So that's literally the difference.
What's the yardage at each of them?
So Samuel, I have 787. Coleman, I have 875, and Shakir, I have 1,036.
Okay.
Oh boy. Yeah. So you are big on Shakir.
Yeah, that's something Bills fans have been talking about as well. Is like maybe we don't have 1,000-yard guy, but we have like 4 or 5 guys that could go for like 800 plus.
Yeah.
Because I have Kincaid with around 800. And I have James Cook with 5 and 6
tight ends and James Cook back there. Like we have a lot of different pass catchers, and it's going to be frustrating from a fantasy point of view. Ain't no question about that. But that's not the business.
Real quick though, we've been talking about the Bills for about 20 minutes. So let's move on to another team. Let's get the Patriots out of the way so I can talk about them for a few minutes, and then we can kind of have an equal footing between the Dolphins and the Jets. So I'm higher on the Pats than everybody here. Real quick, sorry. Louis had the Bills going 10-7. Khalil Shakir was his most polarizing player. Josh Allen had the best touchdown interception ratio of his career, and Bills Texans revenge game is the game that he is most looking forward to for the season. I'll do Louis' Pats take real quick too. He thinks they're going to go 6-11. Drake May is his most polarizing player. Judon finishes top 5 in sacks, and Pat's Rams Super Bowl rematch is going to be his favorite game. I have the Pats going 7-10. I don't think the schedule is as daunting as everybody says it is. I think they were in almost every game last year, other than the 2 games they got blown out in. But pretty much all the other games they were in with just absolutely abysmal quarterback play and offensive. They were scoring like 9 points a game, and they were in most of their games. Without Matt Judon or Christian Gonzalez. You bring back those 2 guys, you get Drake May in there, you have a couple of young wide receivers, like there's a chance for them to improve. Like I think they can win 3 more games than they did last year. So 7-10 is my record. I have Christian Gonzalez as my most polarizing player. This kid's special. Like he's special. Before he got injured, he basically locked up AJ Brown, Tyreek Hill, Garrett Wilson. Like he was playing at an extremely high level. He looked good against CeeDee Lamb in the snaps that he played against him in. And all camp reports says he's come in looking like a man. Like he's growing into his body. He's bigger, faster, stronger, fully recovered from the injury, and looking to be a leader on this team. So I think he's a massive part of what they want to do. For my hot take, I have Javon Baker leads the team in receiving yards. I think it's like 800 receiving yards. He's not going to get over 1,000 yards, but I think a lot of people are going to be between that 600 and like 700 range for yards, and he's going to be creep above everybody for around 800. And then my favorite game of the year that I'm looking forward to the most is going to be Pats in Chicago. Ideally, number 1 pick versus number 3 pick, Drake May versus Caleb Williams, and I think that has the potential in Week 10 to be a really, really interesting game that a lot of people probably wouldn't look at and be like, oh, that's going to be a fire game, and it turns out to be like a really good game. So, yeah, that's kind of like what I'm looking at here. I think Drake, like I have a bet with one of my buddies. He's actually my co-manager in the Fantasy Rant League. I think it's Drake May starts by week 6, or we have to swap first round picks in one of the leagues that we're in. So we got some capital on that one. I think he starts by week 4. I think he might even start week 1 if he keeps progressing the way he does. Do I think that's a great idea? I don't know if I want him starting week 1 with the tackle situation, your weapons, but week 6, yeah, he better be starting at that point. Like, I'll be done with Beef Brissett. Like, I'll be done with him. Moving on. Yeah, that's kind of my Pats take. I think they're going to be better than people think because they actually have a quarterback who's not a noodle arm bitch.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, that is describing Mac Jones to a T. Not only does he have that noodle arm, he's a statue. It's like you got to have one or the other. At least you're mobile sometimes when you don't got quite the arm talent to get it done. But he didn't really have either.
He also just made bad decisions consistently.
Yeah.
Like, you had none of the things that you needed to have. And the Pats weren't set up for him either. But, like, he was still bad. Dan, why don't you go so you can like break my heart with this record prediction?
I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. It's just I look through all these games, trying to be realistic with what I'm seeing here, and I really only saw 2 games where I felt like even in those games, maybe they're kind of sneaking away with the win. Those games were the Cardinals and the Titans. I don't think the schedule is daunting. I think you guys likely will squeak out another win or two. But right now, I think that you guys are going to understand for the most part where you're at early in the season. First few games of your season: Bengals, Seahawks, Jets, 49ers, Dolphins, Texans. It's a tough run right at the top. Feel like if you lose those and you did end up going Jacoby Brissett, then you're gonna switch over, understand what the record is, and give the kid a shot. I do like Drake May a lot. He was my number 2 quarterback in the draft this year. I think that he's got almost unlimited potential. The guy takes off. He's athletic on the ground, has an insane arm. He just needs to clean up the mechanics a little bit and make good decisions consistently. We can say that about pretty much all college prospects. So he's got all of the tools there, but I do have them going 2-15. I put Javon Baker versus Jalen Polk as my, controversial take here, most polarizing players. I think that Javon Baker is arguably a more rounded prospect. He can get it done on the out. Yeah, I love him. I love Javon Baker. I think that he has exactly what it takes to get it done as an X wide receiver. Jalen Polk, he's kind of considered a slot wide receiver, never played more than 42% of his snaps from the slot in college. I personally think that Demario Douglas, and this kind of leads into my hot take here, Demario Douglas, I think, leads the team in receptions. I think that he's very undervalued. He offers something that the other two don't. Jalen Polk over 6'1", Javon Baker over 6'1". Demario Douglas is that smaller, quick twitch, going to make something happen after the play. Whereas Jalen Polk and Javon Baker have some yak ability, but not like the highlight of their game. And I think Demario.
I'm sorry. As far as heat goes, that's mild at best.
Yeah, Demario Douglas is not getting a deep A dot at all, and that's why I didn't even say leaves the team in yards or fantasy points.
Receptions that feels a lot safer than hot. I feel like that seems safer than hot.
If we spice it up a little bit, and this doesn't even feel too spicy. I'm trying to be realistic at the same time, but I do think that Drake May, with his rushing ability, could sneak into the top 15 quarterbacks. In year one, I do think that he throws too many interceptions to really break into that top 12. But I think people are underrating his rushing ability. This guy can move. He decides to run with the ball pretty frequently. Kind of in that Josh Allen, not comparing the two, but in that Josh Allen hero ball type of play style. I think Drake May kind of had to do that at North Carolina, and I think that he will continue to do so unless they do add a guy like Brandon Ayuk that they can rely on. So that being said, I got the best game of the year being Pats versus Bills in Week 18. Kind of already talked about it with the Bills, but I think they could maybe play spoiler. I think the Bills are going to be right on that cusp. They're going to need those end-of-the-year games. That's why I had Week 17 with the Jets as well for the Bills. So I think that this is going to be a pivotal game, and the Patriots love nothing less than spoiling the Bills' chances of making the playoffs.
Yeah, they played
last year.
They played twice in 3 weeks, and they'll both be at the end of the year when Drake May should have his feet under him. So
it's gonna be some good football.
Terrible take. I'm talking about going to both Pats and Jets at home. The first game. But anyways, I got the Pats going 5-12. And I couldn't tell you which 5 games it's going to be, honestly. I go through a lot of these matchups and I'm like, and most of them. And but I also know what kind of team the Pats are, and like Lamb said, they beat the Bills last year. A lot of teams beat the Bills in the regular season that shouldn't have. So take that at face value. But hey, it's a divisional win, and so yeah, I feel like 5-12 sounds about right. They're a really hard team to kind of diagnose because the quarterback situation is like kind of such a mystery, but I don't
don't
know.
have Belichick anymore either. So
That's
you have another like unknown.
So yeah, and we don't know what the system is really going to look like. But I mean, for the most part, in the first part of their season, I don't think it really matters who's playing quarterback. I think it's going to be rough regardless. So yeah, I think 5-12 would be kind of a progress, right?
One game better than last year.
Are they scoring more than 9 points a game?
I would think so. I think it would be hard.
Progress.
That
was fucking brutal, guys. We lost the game 6-0. 6-0. We lost that game. It was
most polarizing player. I ranked 3, 2, 1. 3, I had Antonio Gibson. 2, I had Juju. 1, I had Kendrick Bourne. And
I like the Gibson ball.
But yeah, Kendrick Bourne's a guy who like I've thought had talent and been and I've waited for him to like kind of emerge, and I don't know. I'm kind of with you on Demario Douglas being the real threat in this offense here. They brought these 2 young guys in, and it seems like it's now or never time for Kendrick Bourne.
I think Juju gets cut, to be completely honest. I don't think he makes it 53.
Yeah, so yeah, those guys are kind of like fringe wide receivers in this offense. Maybe one of them breaks out, but I think the 3 guys we just mentioned are the guys of the future here. My hot take: we were talking about Drake May and how we feel about him, and I'm with you, Dan. I think I really liked Jaden Daniels a lot. I think that Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams coming out of the gate are gonna definitely look better than Drake May. But I think long term Drake May is gonna have the best career of the bunch, and that was my hot take.
That's spicy over Caleb.
Yeah, I'm a Notre Dame fan for what it's worth, so I've and I don't know, and the games when I watched Caleb against Notre Dame and against Tulane, I was not impressed.
I feel like whenever Bahookie watched Caleb, he had his worst games ever, which is fine. But like, I don't disagree with you, and I really pray and hope to God that you're right, because that would make me a very happy person.
I've been wrong before. I don't know. And the thing about Caleb Williams is he's walking into such an amazing situation.
That's it. That's the thing. Yeah.
And I'm a Notre Dame fan too, and I agree with what Blake said. But yeah, I can't get behind the Caleb Williams hype. Maybe he comes out here and lights it up and makes me eat my words. Wouldn't be the first time, but that's my take, and I'm sticking to it. And you had Chicago as your top game. I had them as 1B. 1A. I like the game versus Seattle week 2, because we were talking that week 1 game against Cincinnati. Cincinnati is a team who likes to not show up for the first month of the season. And week 1 is just wacky, and literally anything can happen. And I think we're in that. I think that's going to be a wacky game when someone's going to and it's going to be close, and someone's going to come out of it, and it's going to be tough for both teams. And then I'm interested to see how the Patriots react following that performance, whether it's good or bad, when they come home to face Seattle again. Whether that's Drake May or Jacoby Brissett remains to be seen. Probably more likely to be Jacoby Brissett week 2, but I think it's always interesting to see how teams respond to a big win or something like that. And it's this young team, and we're still going to be kind of figuring out what they look like and how they're doing things.
Yep. Let's move on to the Jets. Bahookie, you want to go first?
Yeah, I'm trying to go a little quicker. So I alluded to 10-7 earlier was the record, same as the Bills. And yeah, I have the Bills winning the tiebreaker here. So this team is likely a wild card. I would think 10-7 is probably good enough to get you a 7 seed. Maybe it's not. I honestly don't know the way the AFC will shake out because there's a lot of good teams, and but the thing is these teams are also going to beat up on each other. Most polarizing player, the two I had written down were Tyron Smith and Alan Lazard. Tyron Smith, like, is he going to stay healthy? I mean, it's the same question it's been his whole career. He's good when he's on the field. Alan Lazard this was one of GM Rogers guys, and just has really been a no-show. And that Jets wide receiver room, I mean, outside of Garrett Wilson, who are we talking about?
Mike Williams.
Right. Mike Williams,
Malachi Corley, baby. Malachi
Corley
is exciting player to watch.
We hope, I guess. But anyways, leading in as a Jets fan, I'm not expecting serious. Louis' hot take was with Aaron Rodgers going for under 3,000 yards. Tyler's was pretty similar to mine. I'm big on Breece Hall. I think he's the engine that drives this offense. And my hot take is that he passes CMC this year in for RB1, and he does that by rushing for over 1,500 and going over 1,000 yards receiving because he's catching a lot of checkdowns from Rodgers. Because I don't have faith in these receivers and Rodgers to scramble as much as he did. I think Breece Hall is going to be getting a lot of touches, and he's going to do well with them, and maybe is who leads them to the playoffs. Best game, yeah, I had that December 29th game at Buffalo as one of them. I generally try to stay away from picking Bills games because I'm always going to be looking at those ones. But this is objectively one of the best games on the schedule. And then the other one I was looking at was October 20th at Pittsburgh. We kind of talked about that game last week. Sunday Night Football. The Jets always play good against Pittsburgh, and even when the Jets aren't good, have beaten Pittsburgh. So I think that this is a game that the Jets win, but it's early in the season, and I can't remember. I was looking at like the games going into it. I'm pulling it up really quick.
They play Denver, Minnesota, Buffalo, and Pittsburgh.
So I was saying the Bills could lose 4 in a row. I say if the Bills go, and I was talking about how teams follow up big wins. Say the Bills go into New York on that Monday nighter, the Jets pull off the upset. And then they go to Pittsburgh the following week. How can you handle success? And that's like, and it's hard. We saw it with the Bills last year after they blew out the Dolphins, and the Dolphins, were that cheat code team, and the number 1 team in the NFL last year, and then they came to Buffalo, and Buffalo was like, no, and then the Buffalo went on to lose a bunch of games after that. So looking at the Jets first part of the season, I think they can win a lot of those games. And then, I think that road game at Pittsburgh is really going to be a real team that tells us a lot about a game that tells us a lot about this team.
Word. I have the Jets going 9-8. I just there's going to be some sort of problem. They're not going to hit the height that everybody thinks there is. I'm not sure what the problem will be yet, but I know there will be a problem because it's the Jets. There's always a problem. My most polarizing player is one that you said, Tyron Smith. If he's healthy, they might have finally figured out that left tackle bookend spot, at least for this year. You drafted Olu Fashanu as well to kind of back him up or play on the right side or be a swing tackle in the early part of his career. But if Tyron Smith hits, you got him in an absolute bargain, and he's going to be a massive contributor for a team that has Super Bowl aspirations this year with the roster that they've currently constructed. You kind of took my thunder on the Breece Hall take. I have him as RB1 on the season with 700 receiving yards, 1,350 rushing yards, and 16 touchdowns, 70 receptions. This dude's going to stuff the stat sheet and in redraft 1 quarterback league or redraft 2 quarterback league even, he's worth like a top 5-6 pick. And drafts that I've seen in Dynasty as well, like he goes into like the mid-second. People are taking Jahmyr Gibbs, Bijan, CMC. Like, I get it, but this dude is the next guy, I think. Like, he's the next guy, and then everybody else comes after him. Then my favorite game on the season is Jets versus Rams because Matt Stafford versus Aaron Rodgers. And I think that's a later in the season game. Look here. Jets. Yeah, this is week 16, so both teams are going to be in the playoff hunt. It's going to be an important game, and I think it's going to be a whole bunch of fun. Dan, how about you? Or you said Louis, right? Or Louis said they're going 10-7. Solid's the most polarizing person because he's on the hot seat. Rodgers puts up only 3,000 passing yards, and Jets v. Colts is his favorite game of the season. Dan, how about you go? And then we'll
I'll try to speed run this. 9-8, got them going 9-8. I think Mike Williams is polarizing, but I think Braylon Allen is a polarizing player. Drafted late, so kind of lost stock. I think that he takes away more from Brees than people are expecting, and that's kind of why I have him as that polarizing player. I have him ending up with 100-plus touches, 5 total touchdowns, and lowers Brees Hall's stock by next offseason, just because there's going to be some kind of timeshare. I think they want to keep him healthy. I think their defense is good enough to win games, and I think Braylon Allen is going to show himself as that dude throughout this season, not get the touches because Brees Hall is truly that dude. But Jets versus Vikings in London early in the season, I have that as kind of one of those, games that can flip the outlook of their season. Afterwards, they got 2 out of their 3 next games are divisional, and I could see them drop. If they drop those on top of the Vikings game, could see that going poorly. However, Rodgers got a good track record against the Vikings, so see that going well for them.
Word. I have Braylon Allen with 60 total touches and no touchdowns, so I would hate that. Just like as a human being, not for him. Probably a great dude. I would hate that for myself. All right, let's do the Dolphins. Dan, you start because you went last time.
All right, so Dolphins, I have winning the division, actually. I have Dolphins with a 13-4 record. I can see there being a little leeway. I think they could go, 11-6, but I do think they end up winning the division. Most polarizing player, I think, is Achane, which, again, leads into my hot take. I think that Achane remains firmly behind Raheem Mostert in touches and fantasy points. I think Achane's so explosive, so fun to watch, but realistically, are you going to put him under center, behind the quarterback for the goal line touches? I don't see that being the case. I think Raheem Mostert was re-signed and extended for a reason. I think that Raheem Mostert leaves the backfield still, and I think the most fun game to watch is going to be Week 16 against the 49ers. Going to be a big game where, the Jets still have a game in Week 18 against them, and the 49ers, one of the best defenses against one of the best and fastest offenses in the league.
Word. So I'll do Louis real quick. He has him going 12-5, pretty close to what you said. Achane was his most polarizing player. Tua leads MVP talk to Week 10 by a healthy margin as his hot take. And Dolphins-Packers is the game that he is most interested to watch. I'm a bit lower on the Dolphins. I didn't really love their offseason. I think that Bahookie, you have the best take about the Dolphins. They basically have 2 separate seasons. One where they win like 8 games, they go like 8-1. And then the next they go 1-7. And all of a sudden they're just 9-8 or 10-7. Like they're just the middle of the pack wild card team that isn't going to win the division and can't play on the road when it comes to cold places. So I have 10-7. Jalen Waddle is my most polarizing player here. The dude is nasty at football. Will be a wide receiver 1 on most other teams, but Tyreek Hill is there, just gobbling up targets and just eating up air yards and doing his thing in the red zone as well. But during his first year there, him and Waddle actually performed. They both performed pretty well. They were both top 15 wide receivers. And my hot take is the Dolphins lead the league in rushing touchdowns at 27. So I have each one of their running backs getting 4 or more, and Mostert 10, Achane 8, and I'm pretty sure Jalen Wright was 6. And Tua has 1, and Tyreek Hill has 1. I think that equals 27. I don't know. I don't really feel like doing math right now. Then the best game for me is Miami versus Tennessee in a revenge game. Miami's gonna want that, like, they don't want their pound of flesh for that embarrassment that they had on Monday Night Football, losing to Will Levis, the Mayo Man. So I think they're gonna come out swinging for that game. Bahookie, go for it, brother.
All right, I'll try and run through this, but it might take me a second. 8-9 is the record I have here. Lamb alluded to it. So the last 2 years, last year the Fins were 8-4. Then they had that stinker against Tennessee, and that was where it all spiraled. And then they finished the year 9-8, or what was it? No, they finished with the same record as us, 11-6, and then lost 11-7. But and then the year before that they were 8-3 at one point. Were first in the AFC. And then they finished 9-8. So more or less, I have the same kind of deal here with them being 8-4 going into week 13 at Green Bay. Was the game Louis had circled. This is the one I have too, because this is that now we're getting into cold weather time, and the last 5 games on their schedule are all heavy hitters. Can they go on the road and win these tough games when they need to? The answer is no. They do not win games. And it's not going to change because they didn't fix the reason why. Their offensive line. My most polarizing player, Austin Jackson. Why did you re-sign this guy? He is trash. They had no better options, and they're about to pay Tua is why. This team looks good in the beginning part of the year. They have that home field advantage where it's 120 degrees on their sideline and on the other sideline, and there's no fans, and it looks good. But that's not going to save you in January and December and in February. So yeah, it's much the same this year. The Dolphins are gonna continue to once you go against a good defensive line, and you get Tua off of his spot, and he's not able to get to his first read, he's not the same guy. And the game at Cleveland was probably my second choice. And that's the second last week of the year, I want to say. And I don't see Cleveland as a huge contender this year, but I still think that it's just going to be an absolutely terrible day for them going against that defense. In that cold weather at that time, I think that's another game where it could be close, where they could be right in it, and it's just going to be nope.
All right,
yeah,
is that it?
That's it.
All right, we're a little bit over time here. I appreciate everybody who commented, watched, listened. To the people who are listening on the radio in Atlanta, we ran a little bit long. I hope you kind of catch this part there. That is our divisional deep dive for the AFC East. We talk contracts. We talk Brandon Ayuk landing spots. Make sure you go watch the episode if you didn't see it. Go check out all of our stuff at StadiumRant.com. At StadiumRantHQ is our socials. Go follow us on all platforms. Subscribe to our YouTube channel would be huge. And go give these two guys a follow on Twitter. They both do really great work, and I'm really happy to be here doing this show with them. So we will be back next week to do another division. Let's do AFC West. And yeah, we'll be back like we are every week. And pretty soon we'll be doing game predictions and weekly breakdowns, because the NFL season's creeping up on us.
I think it's 82 days away.
82 days.
Not that far.
Later, everybody. I hope everybody has a good night.